this is Ree here. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate everyone. Thanks so much for liking and subscribing. It's really been helping my channel a lot. And don't forget to check out my website, paradoxastrology.com. I'm a professional astrologer and I can help you with anything. And if you like astrology and occult videos and you want to support this channel, feel free to go over to Patreon. I just started it and I have exclusive videos that I don't put on YouTube. Okay, let's get into it. So I want to talk about the month of March and what's going to happen in March. So I usually do all the videos for the new moon and the full moon, but now I'm going to update you guys on more of a fuller perspective. So this is just a brief overview. I'm going to make separate videos for each placement as well for what I talk about. Example, the moon, I'll have a video for that. I'll have a video for Mars, I'll have a video for Saturn. So I'm just going to briefly go over these because there's a lot to go over. This is going to be a very busy month. A lot of changes are occurring and I can go on forever. This video could end up being 5 hours and I don't want it to be that because I have to edit it. So let's get into this. And just to let you know, all of this is in sidereal time. And I know there's astrologers, Vedic astrologers that use local standard time with sidereal placements. Some use sidereal time. In Jyotish, ancient astrology, you use sidereal time because we didn't have local time. And sidereal time objectively is the most correct time. Because in our time, when you use local standard time, 24 hours is rounded to 24 hours. And that isn't the exact time of a day. So that's why things get a little complicated. It's all in sidereal time. So if some of the placements seem a little bit different than other astrologers, that's because they're using local time, not sidereal time. Okay, let's go. So we have a full moon that's going to be happening on March 7th. That's happening in Uttara Falguni. Then we have a new moon happening on March 21st, which will be in Uttara Bhadrapada. So a brief overview. Now, when you have the full moon that's going to be happening in Uttara Falguni, it translates to the reddish one or the latter fig tree. Now, that's represented by a bed. It's also represented by the later part of spring. So it evokes everything that comes with the spring season. So that could be sex, that could be lounging around, that could be talking, thinking, contemplating, things like that. Also activities involving writing, reading. It's also about the illuminator. It's about the shining one, the soul significance, finding significance. It's also the bestower of prosperity and wealth as well, and ultimate knowledge. So during this time with the next moon, just in very general, I'm going to break it down in a whole other video. If you know me, you know how I break it down. And it's also about being an individual and not following the herd. There's going to be a lot of people going their own way, doing their own creative expressions, finding their own means. And it's also where we start seeing things start slowly opening up when people start to get that more of a spring mentality. Then we're going to have on March 21st, the new moon at Uttara Bhadrapada. And the new moon symbolizes the back legs of a funeral cult. And it's actually related to the actual process of a dying. And it also is process of kundalini regeneration, like as opposed to ego death and then being birthed, the transformation. It has to do with things like that. It's the initial state right after death. So the initial stages after death, it's either you realize that you're dead or something has died, something is gone, and you're in shock, or you have acceptance and you have knowledge through that. So those are two separate things that can occur, and I'll break those down in a separate video. Now, Mars entered Mrigashira Nakshatra on February 25th. It's currently in there right now, and this nakshatra is both in Taurus and it's in Gemini. So Mars will actually be entering Gemini on March 13th. Now, when it enters Gemini, it's still going to be in the same nakshatra, but it's going to change a lot of things. Now, this nakshatra has to do with searching for something. And when it's in Taurus, it's searching through physical activities to try to find itself, to try to find meaning in life. And then it's going to transfer into the side of Gemini, where now it's searching for communication. It's searching to communicate about the adventures that it did have while searching for things in the physical. Now it's going to the mental plane instead of the physical plane. So now the activities are going to revolve around more of the thinking aspect, of the communicating aspect of things, of searching, because it has to do with the deer, and the deer is what's searching. The only thing is that Mars was actually debilitated in Taurus. Now, it's still in the same nakshatra, but now it's going to be not in its stage of debilitation. But because it's Mars, it can cause communication that can be more anger. There could be a lot more expressive of aggression and aggressive communication, things like that. Also, displays of anger, displays of things that you may disagree with. Disagreements will come about, but that will actually help a lot of people who are going through problems of resources. This will actually help them. Gemini also has to do with trade. And even though in this pada is mostly about, so this one is good for all activities involving communication. So if you use this correctly, and then also Gemini energy is markets as well. So there will be people who are probably aggressive on the markets. This could give you a push to go towards those intellectual pursuits now and to really think things through of what happened with the resources when it was in detriment. Now it'll be better for travel, it'll be better for socializing, artistic work, healing, and rejuvenation will be the focus of activities. Then Mars, on March 27th, Mars is going to enter Uttara Nakshatra. Now, when Uttara, it has to do with translations like green, fresh, because it is symbolizing right after the storm where everything's still kind of dewy, and it's a feeling of renewal. That's the most positive thing. So after the actions towards trying to seek the physical attributes, trying to seek the possessions or think material things, then Mars goes into the communication about it to really think about what happened, and then now he can implement those things, and then now it's a sense of renewal in the most positive sense. Now if you weren't focused on doing those tasks, and say you were in your anger or aggression or maybe resentment instead of that. Now, when Mars enters Uttara Nakshatra on the 27th, then it's going to be the negative side of Uttara, or if you say your Mars isn't very well placed, Uttara is ruled by Rudra. Rudra is the deity of storms. And so we're going to actually we could see some chaos and disorder that will happen. There'll be probably some floods, some earthquakes, floods, a lot to do with water, with Uttara. A lot of changes, a lot of weather factors that we'll see at this time. Rudra translates into terrible as well. It's the howler, because the howl of the wind in a storm. It's lightning, thunder, things like that. But it brings a violent storm, because afterwards, then there comes the enlightenment and renewal. So during that time, after the end, there's going to be a lot of changes, environmental changes. It's also the teardrop, and it has to do with sorrow as well. And Mars is action in violent activities. It could be weapons, things like that. So there could be some physical confrontations at this time, which end up violent. Just to warn you, this is for the world, your chart is different. Then we have Mercury going from Aquarius to Pisces on March 16th, and it's going to be on March 3rd, it's going to be in Shadabahista, which is 100 healers, which has to do with healing and the stars. And I'll get more into that as I go, because around this time, we're also going to have Saturn go into the same nakshatra. Now, Saturn, on March 15th, Saturn is going to be going from Dhanishta to Shadabishta as well. So we're going to have Mercury and we're going to have Saturn around the same time. So there's a lot of focus on healing. It's also going to bring out a lot of things that had hidden motives as well, because it's not only about 100 healers and stars, things that we're going to see in the sky. It's going to bring up those things as well, seeing things in the sky, balloons, aliens, fake alien invasion, Project Bluebeam, all of that. It also has to do with hiding motives. It's power from what's hidden. So there could be some communication about some things that end up coming out now that have to do with civil servants that were hiding some things, that had to do with the medical community, maybe what we've gone through the last 3 years, I think it's been. And so there's going to be a lot of focus on healing. This could be alternative healing that has to be done, because it also has to do with chemicals and petroleum. So there could be healing that has to do with Ohio spill, other spills, because Saturn is also aspecting Rahu, and Rahu is in Aries in Ashwini, which is the celestial healers. Rahu being in Ashwini is a spontaneous wanting to do something, and Rahu is also technology. technology. So there could be some new technology that comes about that has to do with healing that is rushed out because they want to change the way things have been done. This could be digital healing, digital IDs. There could be some things rushed out, but in the end, Saturn aspecting Rahu, two malefics. Saturn likes to do things at its own pace. Rahu wants to do everything right away. In the end, the patience will win. So whatever new technology, this could be also talking about AI. This could be AI versus what's really right for the people. And I have a video about that Saturn and Rahu aspect, and I go all over that. So these are the things that are happening. Now, when you have Rahu in Ashwini, Ashwini is about manifesting the unmanifested universes. It's the beginning of all things and the power to set anything ahead. So there's definitely going to be something new that comes about while it's aspecting this. This aspect is going to be happening until October. So not just this month. We're going to see the most happening in April when Saturn is, I think it was around the 16th. Saturn will be aspecting Rahu at an exact degree. So we're leading up to that. There could also be new ways of people using healing as an excuse to make money with Rahu in there. With Rahu in Ashwini, that could be the celestial healer, but that could be someone who's more for personal gain than healing. And aspecting Saturn in Aquarius, that could also be, is this right for humanity or not? And the karmas that we'll have to go through this. Those two things also can occur. Earthquakes, that could be earthquakes and that could be airplane crashes. This is what happened last time when this aspect was occurring. I just want to say, a lot of people are saying that Jupiter is in a great position because it's in Pisces and then we have Venus there. But we have to remember that there is a yoga, it's Papkatara yoga, and when that occurs, you have two malefics on the side of a benefic. So what it's doing is decreasing the energy of that benefic. So Jupiter isn't in its great state that people think it is. And also we have Venus there as well. So that's kind of, yes, Venus is exalted and Jupiter is in the right position, but we have these malefics right there that are aspecting each other, and that's going to be happening until October. So we're not getting the best energy of Jupiter in this case. So March 12th, Venus is going to be going from Pisces to Aries. Now it's in Revati and it's going to go to Ashwini. Now in Revati is a beautiful place for Pisces to be, even though it's aspected by those two benefics. It's a beautiful place because Revati is about nurturing and is about a person who can nurture, who has nurtured themselves and had nurturing, can nurture others. That's why the symbolism is a cow, and the cow is considered one of the most sacred mothers because it literally feeds its calves from itself. It's very nurturing. It's very self-sacrificing. This is the devotion to the most highest self. So when Venus is in here, especially in people's charts, I have Venus in Pisces, and especially in Revati, you have someone who's completely devoted to the higher selves and the higher realms. This could be God, this could be spirituality, this could be things like that. So whatever you learn in this time, having Venus in there, and this could be yourself, nurturing yourself from within. Now, after the 12th, Venus is ready to go into Ashwini, which is that new beginning. And that is of a female horse. It is the horse's head. It conveys an idea of the beginning, but it is courage and movement and vitality. So now everything that you learned, you're going to have the action to go outside and put this into play. This could be in a relationship. This could be in any kind of relationship or business aspect, financially maybe. This could have to do with some actions towards some finance. It's also a good one to evoke aid with childbirth as well. So maybe you were kind of like retreated to yourself, but then now you're more out there, and so this is that new beginning of some people are going to be having children at this time. And it connects all business activities to the material plane. So now any action that you had will be able to come into the material plane. Then we have Mercury on March 10th, which is going to go in Purva Bhadrapada. So then our communication that had to do with healing is now going to go into the legs of the funeral cot. It's our exit from this world. So what do we have to cut off? that is what it is. Mercury is a trickster and can cause damage here as well, because it doesn't do that well in Pisces. It's in detriment, as they say. It relates to the sword, so it's a process that relates to destruction and dissolution side of things, that we got to dissolve something, and it's all kinds of pains, injuries, and accidents. So what did we learn about health now that may have caused some injuries and accidents? Then after that, we go into Uttara Bhadrapada, and it's backwards of the funeral cot, and then now it's the exit from our world, initial state after death. So now that we learned what we need to get rid of, we get rid of those things and those things are gone. And then after March 17th is going to go into Revati, and that's about wealthy. So now we have the knowledge and the understanding from everything we went through, and we're able to think about that and really communicate that to others. And then also March 15th, we can't forget about the sun going from Aquarius to Pisces. So now we went from going and having a focus on humanity to now having a more of a focus on maybe the higher good of things, and maybe retreating and really contemplating some things that have happened, and people might feel a little bit more inward than they were instead of being social. And so that's just a brief overlay. I hope I got everything. I think I did. Yeah. So I really appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time.